A win? I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that.
You get to the center of Greyburr because trees also have rings. That means you've cut him down and won the game. So I guess the analogy makes sense.
There you go. We got around to it.
Yep. Does keeping far watch post to the far left of your hand make sense? Because I think it kind of does. But
Yes, but definitely not on the far right.
no, definitely not.
You definitely want to play the far watch post from outcast position.
And Rune Mithril is obviously better played from far right on coin, which is why Rami has kept it on far right. Wouldn't have kept it in either of the centrals positions. So, you know, magnificent. Do we play the one in the middle then, TJ?
I don't know, actually. Is there any information that you can hide from your opponent by playing? I don't think so. Probably hide the one that you keep.
Let's see what Monsanto does here.
Oh, he's going to play the one he kept. Okay. That way it's a total mystery as to what Monsanto has in hand. I mean, this hand is just good from Rami. It's got the way to deal with the watch post, has got the Mithril Rod, and a Soul Rend. He's looking quite spiced.
Monsanto can go Battle Guard plus another Shrunk here, but decides to go for a bit of a different up. No, you could say it right, because there are like multiple ways of playing this deck, which given the current state we probably won't see. But there is the world where you keep the, like you can like keep a you can keep the far watch post and pair them up with the Oracle Balloon, or you can just do the Razormane thing, which I think is on average a lot better. And what this also means is that now Monsanto, without having to compromise his mana, is able to go for Razormane, Battleguard, and Neutron Compost, while also impacting Rami's hand, which I think is the key thing here, is that he has the quote-unquote dormant effect, or like just a native effect that you don't really have to think so much about, and then you can start building up the board. And this board might not be Soul Rend worthy for Rami. Soul Rend could be increased by the watch posts that have been in place, and that will allow you to get a connect with an Arbor up, and then you'll get Soul Rendered afterwards. But at least you got to push with the Arbor up, I guess.
Yeah, I like the order in which he did this with Far Watch Post first, because it was kind of a test for removal. You'd much rather have the Far Watch Post die the turn that is played instead of the Battle Guard. Just because like the residual effect of it is better. Rami's still just gonna the rod at some point will negate the effect of the Far Watch Post, as long as there's only a single one. So definitely a big fan. And now the decision that you mentioned, like, it's worth it just to push with the Arbor up, knowing that Soul Rend is a possibility, because even if it was, there's a coin in hand, so even if it was picked up with Far Watch Post on board, it still can come out next turn. Or do you just kind of take it slightly slower and wait, like put enough pressure on board with just like Og Merchant Peasant? It's kind of force your opponent to Soul Rend it in a way regardless, and then reload with stuff plus whatever you pick up from the composting plus Arbor up afterwards.
Yep.
Yep.
That's where Monsanto is going with this, and I really like this as well. This just shows that he's very confident with the matchup, as in he knows what he needs to do to push this matchup into his own, like push it into the favor of him, obviously. But Rami is just going to neglect these watch posts and what they've been doing here, as you were talking about with the Mithril Rod now in his hand. It's not cheaper, technically speaking, right? It's back to normal, which also has, you know, that is still impactful for Monsanto. It's worth noting that, because it looks like, yeah, but it costs the same, so there was no impact, right? But no, it actually does matter to a certain extent, because it means that it's going to be harder for Rami to fully cheese out Monsanto here. Do you like this line?
Oh yeah.
You get a free Soul Rend right back, and then you just have everything you need to go.
Oh no!
No. And the sad thing here is for Monsanto, this hand is actually kind of strong, but he's not able to do that because he's gonna have to balance a 0-mana Soul Rend, which is quite impossible for him to do that, to be honest, right? Like, he can't even push anything to the breakpoint of more than 5. Because again, this list has made the adjustments where it's no longer running Nature Studies and the Frog and all those types of things, where you could actually pull something out, like a Cenarian War or something that will help you cheese out the Warlocks, for example. So his highest HP minion is pretty much a Loon and Greybear, and he has the ability to go for the Greybear thing somewhat shortly, but no Greybear in hand, so no real point in actively thinking about it right now. But
time waits for no one.
I think this might be a scenario where Monsanto has to just play to the upside and just hold.
You'd concede the Arbor, no?
I would just play a 2/3 and then Hero Power. Yeah. And there it is. Yep. The upside down pack mule strikes again.
Monsanto again lacking the critical information that you need to play the rightmost encumbered pack mule if possible. But I do love the sound of the rope burning down, CJ. It's my favorite sound in Hearthstone.
I don't cast with game sounds.
Normally it's the sound of my opponent making a mistake. So I quite like that sound, you know?
Yeah. All right, well, Rami can once again hold on to Soul Rend. Could even go like blast to turbo quest completion, knowing that he has Soul Rend to block and take some damage to block any of the burst. I think I might like that over like Drain Soul. Let's see where his quest is at. Or not.
He has Samson. I mean, he has Samson in the pool, so this play also.
Yeah, just get 2 back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty insane. Oh man. All right, I think now he probably has to part ways with the Arbor Up, let go Bone Shredder Brawl, Arbor Up, or actually just Arbor Up plus Hero Power, trade off the Tamsin. He needs to find the power play soon of Teacher's Pet or Greybow with the Oracle of Loon Battle Guard to, I think, even have a chance. And he also needs to rip the Soul Rend from the hand at some point, and then hope that the second natural Soul Rend in the deck is going to be discarded.
Absolutely. And again, it's worth noting, with the amount of removal that Rami has cycled here, there is actually a pretty high likelihood of the 0-mana Soul Rend having to be needed to be used from Monsanto's perspective, obviously. From our perspective, we can see that there are maybe some worlds where it's Mortal Coil instead, and you just like deal 4 damage with that, but it's a weird position to be in for sure. But I like starting with this. It does the same as Tour Guiding with the tap, so might as well just do this first. And it reduces the entire hand, so
Here for the tour?
Alright, then he can blast. And then he's very close to final quest completion. That'll be 2, that'll be 3, and then we'll need, what, 3 more damage in order to get there? Makes sense to me. A couple more life taps. Oh no. I think you just unload everything here.
yeah, you kind of have to. There's just no ways about it, and you just know that. You just kind of hope that the cards that you draw from the composing is are pretty much Oracle of Balloon and Battle Guard. But you used one Battle Guard already in the early game, so you're actually out of Battle Guards. So the The high roll play is no longer an option.
I think he can still hold on to Battle Guard, play like Oracle,
You want to go double?
Pack Mule, Calm Passing. It can't go double. I don't know. I guess you need the Battle Master just to be able to fit in more minions with composting.
Monsanto really doesn't like broadcast. He really doesn't like us, TJ. I feel like he's doing this on purpose. This is 2 out of 2. This is 2 out of 2, man.
Yeah.
This is like
it's not,
what we start to call a pattern.
Yeah. It's not on him to play around it. He's got to focus on his game, so we just have to deal with it. All right, there we go. We back. Another Soul Rend.
And Soul Rend. So,
well, that'll be essentially his whole deck. So Rami could trade off multiple minions here. He could trim the board down to 6 minions on board.
and
then
does Rami care about that though? Because he's like on the following turn he just triggers fatigue with the first touch with the first touch of damage. You could even like
he can play it this turn because he takes 1 fatigue and then can play Tamsin. Yeah.
Yep.
If he he's discarding his whole deck though. He doesn't have card draw in the hand. I guess he has Mortal Coils.
All of Stormwind shall share my pain. Muzzle their magic.
And with the major high roll openings being gone here for Monsanto, with the Battle Guards being out of the pool now with the play that we saw in the previous turn, he can actually do this in somewhat good faith with just a singular Soul Rend in hand, because he knows that he doesn't have to, like, on average he'll be able to isolate the Graybar, because he also has Mortal Coils to ping off potential Divine Shields that might be in the way of potential change with Graybar. So I feel like this play might look a little bit over-aggressive, a bit of an overextension from Rami, but I think that with the context of his hand as of right now, I think that this is actually an okay way to accelerate the game.
Yeah, I would say so too. There's not really a good way for Monsanto to play into this. He knows what's left in the deck, right? He saw all the discards, so he knows that there's Soul Rend, Double Coil, Rod in hand. Rami's game plan is face up. So Monsanto just has to make the most resilient board to fight against that, and that's giving stuff Divine Shield. And might have preferred the Mule there just because Bone Shore Brawler has upside, knowing that Soul Rend would very likely come out here. But now Rami gets to go tap Double Coil. So he's going to take, what, is that 2 fatigue from this tick? Or 3? Okay, 3. And then 4 fatigue, 5 fatigue. That's 9. Is there a better way? Can he do it? Can he go coil the 1-2, trade over the other 1-2, then coil a 2-1, so we take 4? And then 7, so that'd be 11. So there's no lethal. But that might be worth it to push the extra damage to face.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if there's any downside to leaving up the Oracle, and I don't think there is any real downside to it, because the 7 damage you push through the initial taunts here is enough to not really care about that. Because any counters that would come out for that is, you just gain that from sending 7 to the face, and from where we're sitting, it looks like that's what Rami is going to be doing as well. Okay, he just fully resets the board and says there is he's tough pressed to remove the 7-2. We can see there's the Park Panther, but again, even that significant mana investment. The issue here, though, is there actually any? Rami goes.
Oh, wait. So
Rami goes 4-5 plus 2.
4-5 plus 11. Tap. Yeah, so he has to fit in a hero power here. And Park Panther will take it off. So you go Park Panther, Peasant, Mule, hero power. Does that set up for a lethal? You push 4 this turn, and you're leaving 4 power on board. Our Brub would be 8. He would need a lot of stuff off the top. I don't think it's possible. He would need second Arbor up off the top, and even that wouldn't do it.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
third Arbor up as well. So no, that's not possible.
Oh yeah, my deck tracker broke along with the
Yeah.
back, so.
Time waits for no one.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way out here.
Oh, but potentially sloppy play from Rami, to be honest, right? Again, even leaving Monsanto with a sliver of hope in terms of which options were present.
It didn't change. It didn't change.
Is there a world where the
his
Park
clock.
Panther... Wait. Is there a world where you just do this and then Park Panther next turn adds 3 damage? Does this change anything, TJ?
It's not gonna. It's not gonna add 3 damage because he's just gonna trade in.
Yeah.
He trades in, and then he taps, and then he has 12. If there was an Arbor up in his deck, then that could work. But he doesn't even play Nature Studies, so.
Infestation! Wait, is that enough? No, it's not. I'm stupid. Why did I scream? I can't do the Park Panther.
I mean, I love the energy. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
Like,
and,
I mean, I thought that was
like-
my thing, screaming at random cards. But I'm glad you took over for me. I mean, that got me hyped for the next game. That was a little bit of a drag at the end there, you know? Just looked terrible for Monsanto, but you really brought that back up. Thanks, man.
in case anyone needed a new alarm clock back home, just me screaming infestation, you know?
Yeah, there you go. I mean, for a second, I was like, wait, is that ultimate infestation? Like, are we back? I mean, if that was survival of the fittest, then we'd be talking.
Because, you always keep it ultimate infestation in your opener, so,
Yeah.
Like, I was, like, counting, like, Park Panther damage, and I was like, there's still 4 on board, right? And I was like... No, but it trades out. I was like, I don't know why. Like, my brain just completely, like, diminished. Rami's entire turn. Rami's entire turn just didn't exist there.
Yeah, that's funny. But looking back on the turn, I think Rami's correct to... I don't think it was sloppy. I think it's correct to trade off the Oracle. Because if he doesn't push that 7 or he doesn't trade off the Oracle, imagine if Monsanto could add way more power to the board that last turn. Right? So let's say he did the same exact play but left up Oracle. He pushes the essentially the same amount of damage, slightly more. No, it's a win either way. Whatever.
Whatever.
He sets up guaranteed lethal over 1 or guaranteed lethal over 2, but I do think his play was clean to cut out any possible outs from Monsanto. Monsanto didn't have a single out in the deck. Like, no matter, you could pick the order of which he drew his cards. Like, you could say, all right, he drew exactly these cards, still doesn't beat him. So I like the play he did, because if he leaves the Oracle up and then for some reason he can't get lethal the next turn and the Oracle just summoned like an entire board that could be Arborupt, that's how he loses. So, but I think that was a really nicely played game from him. Really spacing out his resources there, being super greedy with the last 2 Soul Rens, knowing that Aggro Druid, especially with access to composting and 2 composted boards, would have reload forever. And so you said it right. He needed to accelerate the game to not fall into the trap of, oh, I have inevitability, because he didn't. He only had inevitability, but up to the exact turn that he killed his opponent. So, very nicely done.
Yep. So, natural counter Q here from Monsanto. You'd say, right? Garrote.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
For sure, yeah. This is the natural. Again, especially with the list that we've been seeing from Rami, right? With the lack of giants and lack of threats to put a clock onto Monsanto outside of quest completion. So, again, Armavender in this matchup, generally speaking, shouldn't be significant. It's significant or not. Like, it's a discussion that I've seen some people have where it's like, it's kind of cute, but it's not really super significant. I guess it can change some breakpoints in regards to how much spell damage is needed, because again, it adds 4 damage, so it's an entire... So the 4 armor technically corresponds to 4 spell damage, takes off 1 copy of Garrote.
Yeah.
Which
actually
is relevant when you put it like that.
Yeah, it takes you out of a breakpoint, right? The X1 breakpoint, or whatever you want to call it, is 32 damage. So if you can go to 34, you force your opponent to have to play the 1 additional spell damage before they go off with their Garrotes. 1 armor vendor usually isn't enough. I think that 2 can sometimes get it done, just because then you have a little bit of flexibility with like playing an armor vendor early. But I think the armor vendor is much stronger when you're talking about like a ladder environment where your opponent doesn't expect it. Because a lot of times in this matchup, you're like, all right, it's Warlock. You know, I can aggressively use my Shadow Steps and my Ethereal Augmerchants to draw through my deck a little bit faster. Because I know that all I have to deal is 30 damage. I just need to preserve 1 spell damage. And so then you're using those things, and then your opponent just stays at 30 the entire game and then goes up to 34, and you're like, okay, well now I can't win because I used my Shadow Steps and Ethereal Augmerchants so liberally. But Monsanto knows this, so in this particular case, it shouldn't matter because it's actually pretty easy to get enough, like, to hold on to enough resources to get the spell damage because you have a ton of time in the matchup, normally.
Yep. And with no Rod for Rami, I don't think that is gonna change anything in terms of the clock, at least. But okay, finds a playable card with the tour guide that doesn't force him to utilize the armor vendor or force him to withdraw a card or something like that, which could be pretty violent right now. There are just a lot of cards in both players' hands right now, TJ.
Yeah, gives me a headache.
Yeah, and again, it's kind of the old concept. I know that Lorinda likes to talk about this a lot, or at least like to talk about it a lot, where it's like, the more options you give players, the better you give them, the more options to make them look good you give them, right? Because they are allowed to take more concrete decisions.
That's an upgrade.
We can't Procto the Octo here.
Just gonna go second Guardian Augmerchant to try and protect the field contact. He's being very deliberate with his actions because I know that he wants to make sure that he's preserving as much as possible. Shadow Steps the field contact. First Shadow Step, I think you can use quite liberally here.
It's also just a case of hand space, right? Because he has the second Swindle in hand as well, so he knows that he wants to be able to play that, but the thing is that it's 2-minute draw free with the field contact, so you need to, ahead of time, clean up as much hand space as you can, and by using Coin and Shadow Step here, you do clean up those 2 extra slots needed to open up with potential field contact plus Swindle on the following turn. With prep as well in mind.
Yeah.
Technically could allow you to preserve the prep. If I'm not being stupid here. There's also Octobot and Penflinger and a lot of other shenanigans that we could start to delve into, I suppose.
Yeah, next turn is probably a Secret Passage turn, just at first glance. There's a lot of his hand is like the end, especially now.
It's
His hand is the end of the game, but he needs less cards in his deck right now. So, Secret Passage plus dump a bunch of stuff. He could even Penflinger then Secret Passage, and then just dump the Penflinger at the end. Alternatively, he could just reduce this ahead of time, because he has all the win conditions in deck, and then Secret Passage on the follow-up to dump more stuff. So, I like this as well. Yeah, now it's looking like 2 Secret Passage turns in a row, and then a win. Actually, a win could be possible next turn.
Yeah, but they can't just like go in on this turn.
But there's no reason to, right? Like, Rami's not going to kill him. So you go in when you're 100% confident that it is lethal. There's just no reason to just kind of flex and say, 6 mana, I got this.
But Monsanto is all about the content. Don't you think he wants to make top 5 moments here?
No. I think he'd much rather just win the game.
I think just from a time perspective, we're already well past the go-in breakpoint already now, having wasted like a solid 10 seconds already.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's 100% secret patch. It's just what does he want to dump before? And I like the brain freeze. Nightshade Matrons or Tamsin, I guess. The question reward are the two biggest minions in the deck. All right, dumpable, and dumpable. Nice.
Depending on what you grab from this, right?
Oh,
that's not dumpable. I mean, technically it is, but you end up doing stuff you don't want to do. So this neophyte and...
Yep. I'm just trying to get cards out of his deck. I like it.
You don't burn a card here either as well. Wait, that goes to the left? I guess it does, because... Yep. Don't mind me. Don't mind me.
Okay. And now it's should be easy to complete next turn. But again, he doesn't have to. Like, there's absolutely no rush. He could just secret passage again, make sure his deck is good and empty before he decides to go off, just in case he messes up. Taking a look at the remaining cards for Monsanto. There you go. Shadow Step there, Og Merchant. A lot of good stuff in the bottom, but at this point, not much of it matters. He will need one more spell damage. In some cases, 2 more spell damage. If Rami ends this with Armor Vendor, and just Armor Vendor, no tap, which I don't know, I think you probably do, right? Because this is the turn you'd expect your opponent to pop off. That's really difficult.
It's a hard read, right? It's a really hard read to make, because when you're looking at it, you've looked at Monsanto just holding on to an incredible amount of cards through one passage, right?
Yeah.
Now I think with the second passage coming out the way here, I think that this is now where you start to go into your survival mindset of how do I survive? How do I survive in this situation? Yeah, this is just beautiful, right? Because again, it leaves the Apheliocons on board, meaning that Rami has to spend mana working out how to deal with the board. And then has to also find a way to clear out the breakpoint. And with the additional threat of the Neophyte making it even harder for Rami to really just be efficient. This is obviously pretty key. Because now, if Rami really wanted to go to the right amount of HP, he could have gone for like a Bristleback plus Soul Rend or Drain Soul plus Soul Rend, but the issue is then it doesn't fit in the Armor Vendor, which is a clutch card in terms of being able to go to that ever so elusive 34 breakpoint, which is the first breakpoint we need to clear.
Yeah.
Because with the dagger, the 33 doesn't clear the 32 breakpoint, which is the initial one.
Yeah, though at this point, I mean,
it's not relevant. I'm just trying.
3 cards left in deck with an Octobot. Everything's free. There's not a breakpoint in the world. He's used 1 Shadow Step, no Og Merchant, so that's plus 4 spell damage. Or sorry, plus 3 spell damage that he get, which clears the first breakpoint by a lot. He's gonna make him do it, right? There's not a world where he doesn't just say, "All right." I mean, you have to clear it.
It's quiet, too quiet.
Yeah. Last 3 cards are Kazakis, Ethereal Og Merchant, and Shadow Step. So this is a pretty cut and dry. He's got an Octobot to put the 3 spell damage on. His Garotes are free. And at that point, he was guaranteed to hit more draw. So this will draw the last Ethereal Aug Merchant, and then he just needs to play the Kazakus, actually, funnily enough. Oh no, he doesn't need to. He just... Wait. Yeah, he can play the Groats first. He has plenty of damage. You play the Groats first, it's still 38.
Yep.
Multiple ways to do it at the end there. But,
Yes.
I mean, this Warlock deck... like, even if Monsanto had just let his cards draw naturally for 3 turns, right? And just went to 10 mana and just let all his cards come in his hand naturally and not draw them out of his deck, he probably still wins. So, there you go. Even if Rami had played a Cult Neophyte on that last turn, Monsanto still would have won because he played 3 spells that turn. And so it would have been a total cost. And he still would have had 3 mana. Actually, even if Rami had played double Cult Neophyte that turn, Monsanto still kills him. So, terrible matchup. Last year standing in a nutshell. All tied up 1-1.
Yep.
Give me that. Look what I
Not really much more to add here.
yeah, I know. It's just...
It's almost as if you've spent the last 3 weeks or so casting this deck, TJ.
No, because we've had... I think every Warlock we've cast up to this point has had Giants in it. So it adds some excitement at the end, right?
I meant the Rogue deck.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm interested here. So Rami is queuing up the Quest Shaman for the Rogue matchup. And
yeah, I mean,
he writes, the list that I've been playing has been the one with the Earth Allies in there. So you have the additional big minion that sometimes just doesn't get killed. So what is the upside for Rami with his current build of the deck in the specific matchup that makes him queue this first instead of queuing something else?
So the deck that he has left is Shadow Priest, and Monsanto has Warlock left. So he wants to line up the Warlock or the Shadow Priest into the Warlock. It's not necessarily that he thinks his Shaman is good against Rogue. It's just that he thinks that his Priest is better against Warlock than his Shaman is, which makes a lot of sense. So he doesn't want to get his Priest eliminated or potentially eliminated before Warlock even comes into play.
Yes, and we have now elevated from LHS Basics to LHS Advanced.
Yeah, there's a lot more that goes into it. Yeah.
Yep, and it was kind of the point that I was trying to get you to make that, because I very much do agree with this. I was just like trying to, again, because because you're so used to Conquest, you just play your best deck every time. But again, there's just a lot more nuance to LHS in terms of like queue order, because again, there is the good old discussion about queue order and Conquest. We're not going to take that, but it definitely does matter in LHS, and that's why, as you're saying, that we do see the Shaman here. Yeah.
It definitely doesn't mean that Rami thinks this is a good matchup. It is a middling matchup, as Quest Shaman is so good at. There's a couple of decks that Shaman can beat pretty consistently, one of them being Shadow Priest, just because, you can use every card in your hand to remove their first board, and then your mana crystals reset and you win the game. Perpetual Flame is a heck of a card. But most of the other matchups, because of the flexibility of Quest Shaman, are 50%. It's hard to gain an edge, but it's hard for your opponent to gain an edge, so it's a respectable deck.
And also just because you have the access to Canal Slugger as well in all the matchups, there's you just have such an efficient way of healing most of the time as well. And again, and that just adds on to the whole 50% matchup thing. And again, Rami here wanting to put a reasonable minion on board next turn. We have not the Novice Saber here, Serpent Shrine. So, weird question, and I kind of already know the answer. But in this matchup, does the Shaman ever have time to go for the quote-unquote OTK plan?
Wait, what? The quote-unquote the Shaman?
Yeah, I don't think they do, right? So the plan where you just stack the Note Takers and Lightning Bolts and Dapper and just kill them from 25.
Oh no.
I don't think you have, right? Because the Garrote Rogue just goes quicker than that. most of the time. So again, right, I said I do know the answer to the question, but again, that is also an additional upside of holding back the Novice Saber here, but obviously here mainly just for curve purposes, more than anything else.
He will need to play maybe just a hot streak just to get the prize plunder without using the Shadow Step. Right now he's at 3 cards played. Hot streak would put him at 4 cards played and Nick prize plunder and not have to sink the dagger in. But I guess you could just sink the dagger in, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter, right? Like, and the upside of Incander's Foil can actually be quite nice because it can help you save some damage for like an efficient Octobot, but like...
Yeah, I guess. It's just funny.
But again, like, it's just funny to think, like, I don't know. Something that you need to think about here, though, is the Lightning Bloom, because that is a card that, generally speaking, just tends to allow you to eat the mana, especially when you still have first quest trigger still available here. So Perpetual Flame into Lightning Bloom into Canal Slugger, just to have something that's kind of scary on board. Considering you've just seen the having just seen one prize plunder get out of the way. Being able to stick something that is actually a threat isn't half bad, and you just put the Saber on board as well and say, you know what, Monsanto, if you can't do it with these minions, you're taking 9 next turn. And
yeah, and he's got the perfect reload as well with Guidance. Guidance will complete the second portion of the quest if you can pick up some Overload cards from the Guidance as well. Rami's looking at pretty fast quest completion. Yeah, Brain Freeze is good. It's a little bit awkward with the mana expenditure. What would he go in, like, in Canter's Flow, Brain Freeze, Canal Slugger, and then the follow-up is weird.
Yeah, do you have a passage done here, or like is that stupid?
Maybe in Canter's Flow, Brain Freeze, and then sets up for a secret passage next turn.
Yeah, or sets up for Kasakas 1-cost Golem for Tembo. But yeah, I think go for passage each of this or next turn, right? With the current scope of your hand.
You could just take the 9 and play Kazakas this turn and go for a good 5.
And I honestly don't hate that, to be completely honest. But again, we've been talking about how Rami is aggressively pursuing his quest completion right now, and if Rami is able to fully pursue that quest completion and do it aggressively, and Monsanto just ends up dying, theoretically speaking, that would be a pretty weird position to feel like sitting there and being like, maybe it was a little bit too greedy and should have taken the 9, because there's a pretty big difference of being at 21 and being at 15, which would be the other big one, because Monsanto did face tank, right? Am I stupid?
He did. He face tanked the 3-2. 3-1 at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, Revolve. Oh. You interested in an injured Marauder here? A nice little 5/10 from this Canal Slugger?
I would very much be interested in that. I actually think that's a bigger upside for you rather than for Monsanto. But I guess it's, do you want the free taunt, or do you want to re-roll your fodder, right?
Yeah, I guess the 3/3 taunt's better because it protects the 6/1 on board. All right, now it's 100% a secret passage turn.
And you go left, not right. Fair enough. Monsanto saving the good cards in outcast positions for whenever he might be needed to play Demon Hunter. Was Demon Hunter banned? I can't remember.
Demon Hunter is banned, yeah.
Okay.
Monsanto has Warlock and Rogue remaining. Rami has Shaman and Priest.
Yeah, makes sense, makes sense. I just had to put back for a second. This one is weird as well, right? Because you don't want to use the Arc Merchant, you don't want to use... I mean, you kind of do/don't want to use the Octobot. I guess that's actually a reason why Revolve being kept could be a thing. If Monsanto feels like it's necessary for him to temper out an Octobot, just going for the Revolve actually does slow down Monsanto quite significantly.
Yeah, but I think Monsanto's okay with that. The Neophyte would be traded off on board, so I think the upside, if this was like second Octobot, then yeah, I think it'd be crazy.
But it's still relevant here, right?
can still get the same minion from Revolve, I'm pretty sure. It doesn't say change it to a different minion of the same cost. It says change it to a minion, a random minion of the same. What the heck is that?
I think is that the summon 1 costs? What is that the summon 1 drops caravan from your deck? Or is that the hunter one? Is that a hunter caravan? If that's hunter caravan, that could actually be quite disastrous for Monsanto.
No, it's the Warlock one. It's the Apothecary.
Oh, okay, then it doesn't matter. But, like, that was actually, if that had been the hunter one, just leaving it up would be pretty stonks, because then, I mean, Monsanto's Arc Merchants just get out of the deck left, right, and center. So, but not the case here. Are you on... Wait, it was!
It's the Warlock one, though.
Why did we kill this, then? Why did it die?
Because it pulls a card out of his deck. That's what you don't want. You don't want him drawing cards.
But you also remove the... You also remove the spell damage, no?
I mean, maybe, but there's a lot of 1-cost minions in the deck.
You've seen one
There's Penflinger, there's Wand Thief, there's Prize Plunder.
I guess it averages out. I just live in...
It would have been a 1 in 6. It would have been a 1 in 6.
Too quiet.
I don't know, do I say? I guess at that point, it's not worth it. But I like at least think about that for a second and be like, you know... Yeah, I guarantee you there's been a game on ladder where that exact situation has happened.
Oh man, just the chain of draws off the top from the pass is just insane.
Wait.
8 cards left in deck.
Never be afraid of your inner power.
All right, Fireheart.
Consequence? Yep. Chain Lightning.
Certainly played a spell last turn, right?
He did, so turn is also a thing. Question is whether or not 2 mana more often here removes 2 minions, versus the 1 mana remove 1 minion with turn.
Yeah.
Which I think is the equation that Rami is running right now.
Oh, investment opportunity. That's really good. You get to draw a card from your deck and pick another card to play. All those are damage in some sense.
Yeah, Storm Strike and Molten Blast easier to really apply post Brukan.
Storm Strike's just the most damage. None of those were overload cards, though, so Rami's still in a little bit of a rough position.
I think a dream that would have been like Guidance, or even like Lightning Bolt, just send it face would also have been relevant to a certain extent. Well, he didn't even have to make an
options from the last box.
And there is the Octo. So is it time to Procto the Octo, as the popular saying goes?
All right. So let's map this out. I think he could go...
I wonder.
There's no Shadow Steps. There's 2 Shadow Steps in the hand, but that Aether Augment's the last one. And he needs all of that, right, to get to 30. No, he needs +2 spell damage, excuse me. So he can part ways with 1 Shadow Step here. But I'm trying to think how. Was it Field Contact Shadow Step?
What is this flow even hitting at this point? Rain Freeze and 1 Garrote at some point like that? Crowds, I guess, as well. Also relevant. 2 mana draw 2 is a little bit better than 3 mana draw 2.
Oh no, this is better. Yeah, you can Shadow Step the Octobot and then start, because you need a target on the board to be able to spell power multiple times.
Then, yeah.
Yep, next turn's the go turn.
And Urban Shrine and Canal Slugger would complete quest.
Yeah, but there'll be 6 cards left in deck. There's a free Octobot, free Ethereal Aug Merchant. Remaining cards in Monsanto's deck are as shown.
What to do?
What you're saying is that equation equals Rami dying next turn.
Very likely. 8 mana is a good amount to work with. A lot of the stuff is very cheap.
Wait.
I could see it getting...
Oh yeah, never mind.
No, it's not.
Had the top deck been Lightning Bolts, Monsanto would have been dead. Right? No, he wouldn't. I'm
No.
Overload is a...
Adorable infestation!
Oh my god, dude! Hello?
Efficient is sufficient.
I have a feeling that it'll take a while before I get to live that one down. You know what?
You bet.
You're paying for my discretion.
Hey, loser!
Can start killing off his stuff now. Wand Thief, then Guardian Og Merchant to kill off the next Pen Flinger that he uses. Just needs 2 left over. Yep. Dwindle's actually 1 draw 2. He's got the spells. It'll guarantee the Garrote 2. There it is.
Yep.
Now the rest of his deck is just Bleed, so he plays 1 more Battlecry minion and he's good to go. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yes, and this was the expected outcome for Rami. He did go into this knowing that he probably wasn't going to win with the Shaman, but again, if the Shaman was able to potentially cheat out a win here, it would have been a would have been positive, right? And would have been something that would have been doable for him. But
Yeah.
now it's Shadow Priest time. Rami being a double Deceptor 1 Chaplain gamer.
Pretty much just a choice of preference. The difference is super small because the game usually doesn't go on long enough for that to make a difference when you're talking about Shadow Priest. But yeah, just to kind of reiterate your point, Rami kind of knew that this matchup wasn't that great, but trusted his Shaman more against Rogue than he would have against Warlock. And thus, he queued it against this one, because if it is going to get eliminated, he preferred to get it to get eliminated in a matchup where he had a better chance to win than get eliminated against something where he didn't, and then not having Shadow Priest available or queuing the Shadow Priest into a different matchup. So now Rami has to win 2 in a row with Shadow Priest. He saved the best for last though, because I've seen some incredibly powerful openings from Shadow Priest that just destroy Garrote Rogue, who, while they do have some board-centric tools, like the Prize Plunder, it takes some time for those to get online. So you can snowball incredibly against Garrote Rogue.
Yeah, absolutely. There we go. That's the game. We see Mindrunner Lucia race the double Orc Merchant. Weird hand to play out, obviously. So, question here: how relevant is Mindrender as like? You still just play it as a logout card in this matchup. You don't play it in like a control priest fashion. Does the game ever go long enough? Do you think, or like in your experience?
No.
I mean, obviously, probably not. But I think that
I don't even know if there's a single matchup where Mindrender Lucia is held for any significant amount of time for any reason in the current metagame.
I mean, often you just like, just throw out everything that you have in your hand, and then you just, play Mindrender and deny it. I feel like we've seen an excessive amount of Benedictus in opening hand today, actually. Like,
yeah, this is a terrible opening hand. I mean, yeah, sure, you keep Mindrender Lucia in the mulligan, but at what cost?
What did it cost? Everything.
It's so, but Mindrender could still probably just win this game. Like,
I mean,
right,
there we go.
Yeah, the Voracious Reader is the card that I'm the most worried about, because Benedictus and Mindrender Lucia are going to be in the hand for at least a little bit of time. Rami kind of has to play to the top of his deck right now and just play out as much power as possible. Hope that the next draw is an Attendant or a really solid 2-drop.
Yeah, but I think that trusting your deck here when you are playing an aggro deck is something that you need to learn as an aggro deck pilot. It's just trusting your deck is super important.
Yeah.
Hero power? Or do you? I guess you always hero power here.
Yeah.
It's just something where you just have to trust that on average you're going to draw out the cards that you need to draw into. And Dragon Concealment here again from Monsanto, just getting those cards out of your deck is super important.
Yeah, you just have to trust that you put all these terrible cards in your deck for a reason.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well,
Terrible card number 1.
Wriggling Horror Orc mentioned Sundered. Let's go.
I mean, Shadow Priest is the ultimate example that, like, if you put enough of the terrible cards together in one deck, and then take 2 turns, you're probably going to win.
It's kind of the first deck to do that since Dreadlords by Aggro Demon Hunter. Because I remember we were running some really weird lists. Because, like, I remember Lorinda was testing out running like the 0 mana cards, and I was like running Lepanome and stuff like that here. And this is actually really interesting from Rami saying that the Divine Shield is enough to protect the Homunculus and goes with the Horror and 2 other minions here. But again, you're making a little bit of an ooze sound because Prize Plunderer just ended the hand.
Oh yeah, Monsanto's going to be able to clean up a good chunk of this board here and get Wand Thief down. Not the best stuff.
Let's go.
Yeah, Wildfire.
Could you imagine if Wildfire just had 2 mana upgrade your hero power, by the way?
I mean, it does work if you get access to, like, if you play Yoink or, like, get access to, like, Metamorphosis or something. Pretty sure the effect persists.
It should, right? Yeah, and you can see Rami's reaction being kind of like, yeah, really, dude, but...
Oh.
That is, in fact, the Hearthstone card.
Oh, perfect positioning for Monsanto to play around Mindrender Lucia into Shooting Star as well. Putting the 2/1s on the ends.
That's actually so smart, and I would never have thought about that, to be honest. I'm not even sure if that's a conscious decision, because even then, the trade from Rami just happens, right? Just trades out a 1/2 and then Shooting Stars regardless, but I like that you're aware of these things, TJ. Now the question beckons, is this rigging
is key.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Anyone else lost?
His biggest
I
threats do die to crushing walls, though, so...
Yeah. He's like, alright, just ship it face, I guess.
I'm looking for a few good mercy.
Hope you get there. Figure 1 is 5.
I think you go with a 1, try and hit a board buff, then you can prep out Shooting Star.
Rush could be efficient. Spell damage.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Or Wild Wine, actually. Both options are definitely speaking to me. That's Battle Cry. This one is definitely better, and sometimes this rogue deck just like out-aggros aggro to a certain extent. Because of like the ability to have access to the good old Kazakus. It's just when you get to stick these one drops like this, it just feels really good. And now, how does Rami get back into this? There's not like a Condemn or any other AoE card. There's not even anything in the hand from Monsanto he can steal with the Mindrender with the Shooting Stars being used here, so I mean, Monsanto just brain freezes the Benedictus. I guess he can kill it as well if he really wants to, and then just starts out aggroing Shadow Priest.
Yep. Not even going to acknowledge the remaining body of the 5/3. Just going to ship everything face. This makes Void Touch Attendant really difficult to play because there's a lot of attacks on board for Monsanto.
More like a wisp than a warden.
Just going to have to Voracious Reader this turn. He's got 1 more turn left, so he can ping off the Cold Neophyte and then try and Mind Render next turn to gain some amount of tempo back. But Monsanto has to know with 100% certainty that the card in hand is Mind Render or Lucia. Because he kept it and hasn't played it at all. And in aggro matchups in general, you're not going to keep a card that you don't plan to play for a long time. Unless it's exactly Mind Render or Lucia. So Monsanto has to know this.
And 2 damage off lethal with a Pexus Blast right now, so again has to discover other avenues, depending whether or not he thinks that the 2 damage I mean, at
Maybe he
least
just ships it
Rami
anyway.
gets like a road. I mean, I feel like you just kind of do, no?
Maybe he does it on the 5-3 instead? I don't know.
He doesn't ship it because he is covering a cram session. Oh wow, we can reduce the cost of all these cards that
Can play devolving missiles, which is pretty bad because there's a 5. There's it would overall increase on average. No, it wouldn't increase it. It would be about the same because the average health of a 2-drop is below 3 health. So, Oasis ally, sure.
Actually, really good because again, Rami's only way to get back into the board has to be making active trades, and getting a free welly is pretty good when you have.
Oh, but
Is that the one and only?
oh, okay. Dump your hand, mind render.
And 5 face, where you don't die.
Yeah, because he can Aug Merchant down a 2-1. There'd be 7 damage on board. He tested for Mirror Entity. It's not that. He likely would never just spend 3 mana on Counterspell after a Raised Dead was already played. That doesn't make any sense. He's healthy enough to where Ice Barrier wouldn't be that great, so I think he can pretty much narrow it down to Oasis ally.
I mean,
Now he's almost certain.
Yeah. There's still a world where you could say like it's going to be the common 4-drop, but again, that's what you're talking about with 1 race out of the pool, not relevant. So again, Oasis ally very much being a card of choice here. So drop the Merchant, the Lucia. Be happy. Force Monsanto back onto the back foot here. Wait a second.
Wait a second.
Whoa.
What? One more turn? I don't think it really matters.
Wait
right,
a minute.
It did matter. It mattered.
We play a Sagas pick 5.
Value trade over the 2-1.
Yeah, I don't know. The 2 damage is kind of made up over the course of the 2 turns, regardless. Yeah, and I think Rami might know what's up here. Yeah, I think he might realize it, but again, 1 Shadow Step is out of the pool after that massive swing turn with Plunder earlier on. So again, not the most outcome.
I don't know if I blame him for not playing the Mind Render because Monsanto chose to play like Cram Session plus Random Secret over like whatever cards were in his hand at that moment, which is a big tell that those cards are not good quality. So if he expects the cards are not good quality, it doesn't matter if he Mind Renders anyway. He might as well take more power off the board and protect the minions that he does have, as opposed to like giving Rami a card. Also, if he Mind Renders in that situation, like Monsanto draws Void Touch Attendant off the top from his own deck.
Yeah, that definitely will.
Maybe just wins.
No, I'm pretty sure that I was getting to the point where I'm like, I don't blame Rami for not Mind Rendering. I was just, again...
Oh, he's dead now,
again,
so...
Yeah. And it's also super resource orientated, right? Because again, had it not been the Shadow Step, but had it been like, I don't know, Guardian Arc Merchant, anything like that, then it would have been less impactful, obviously. But now, obviously, can't trade into the 5/5s because it will summon that water.
Well, he can't, like... no, he can't get there on attrition, right? It's his only plan.
Because the issue is that these 5/5s, they're just so efficient at dealing with his only defensive tool. And had that not been the water elemental lying in wait here with the secret, I think you would be like Rami just double trades and says, you know what, let's battle it out for attrition, buddy. But I don't know.
Yeah, he just trades over the other 5/5 and just hope that Monsanto's draws are dead.
I mean, if you ping the 2-1 here, the trades onto the Mancos are actually kind of awkward unless Monsanto daggers. When I guess Monsanto most likely won't be needing anything. I don't think anything that puts him about daggering. Just the mill like Tiny Fin just coming down with his wooden sword and being like, yes.
Because both hands were empty and terrible. I forgot that Mindrunner had been played, and then he was.
That's kind of the same. I was like something. Okay, we're gonna see field contact, something like that. You know, anything real, and then I'm like, wait, no.
All right, who wins in a top deck war though? Like that's the question. It's got to be Monsanto. I mean, he's got some dead draws in the deck. Like, let's say Monsanto draws a prep off the top, or a Penflinger, or a Garrote.
Rami does, but the thing is that if Rami hits a race that, which I believe there's still one race dead left, right? Be wrong?
Yes, there's one raised dead left. For Monsanto, there's a prep. I mean, if Monsanto hits a secret passage, which he has 2 of, the game just ends. He usually finds enough resources to get there. Swindle?
Passage?
Swindle into passage?
Time. I think you have time for Monsanto here to just get max value. Like, you don't need to do anything this time because you're just...
this is going to be a big graphic. Oh, jeez. Okay, there we go. So spells left in the deck to hit just right now if he doesn't want to combo it. He can hit Shroud of Concealment, good. One of the secret passages, good. So that's 3. Brain Freeze would be okay, but not good enough. Garrote wouldn't be good, and Preparation would be good.
So, my big issue with this previous turn was that we didn't kill the Water Elemental, because you could hero power over the other relevant minion, and just trade the Water Elemental, you leave a 1/1 in play, you can't attack for this turn in particular, but now you're just kind of stuck doing the same thing, but having taken 3 extra damage, and feeling kind of scared to play this race, that which is kind of what you need to do to turn the game back around. So, effectively, Rami would be at 7 now, instead of 8, I think, but having... access to the minions and needed to be Voracious Reader. Okay, am I allowed to be a little bit excited about that one, TJ?
Yes, you absolutely are.
Because it's not Infestation, but it's definitely a good one. That's Garrote. Garrote Swindle could draw blue.
This could just be lethal. It could just be lethal right now.
Right off the bat.
Yeah. And at any point, it could be lethal for the game. All right, he just hits it right off the top. Cool. I mean, he hit field I guess he would have only hit 1 minion off the Swindle because the bleed counts as a spell and then it just draws a card, so it's not limited to a spell, so he wouldn't have hit it. If he hits prep there instead of bleed, you know, Rami would have still needed at least 2 turns. But he made it close at the end, right? That was I like just his recognition that, you know, this is an automatic loss. There were panouts in that game that he wins. Maybe it was like 10% or even sub 10%. It would have to be like triple dead draw in a row for Monsanto, but they were there. They existed, right? There's Penflinger, there's Prep, Garrote by itself. Just like one Garrote by itself, or a single minion, combo minion, battlecry minion, what have you. So really like the fact that Rami fought that one to the bitter end, because that wasn't just an automatic loss. And I think with the resources that he was given, he did the best he could. Just Monsanto had good opening hand, played his hand well, and takes the series.
Yeah, but we got to see the alternative way of playing Garrote Rogue out, right? Where you just play it as a more of a traditional tempo rogue deck that we've been seeing and been familiar with for the past year or so, right? And I think that was, with the ways that we've seen the rogue being played out today, regardless of that, I think that was a very nice way to close out today's broadcast in terms of games. So Monsanto joins No Hands Gamer. You're talking about how consistent No Hands Gamer has been at getting out of groups, which is, generally speaking, a pretty good thing. You want to stay in Grandmasters overall. So congrats to both for making our top 8 for tomorrow. So.
Yeah, and Monsanto practice partners with Language Hacker. They both make it out of their groups. Language Hacker in first, Monsanto in second. So we have that brute DH aggro druid lineup, 2 of them in the top 8. That should be cool. And now we get to take a look at the quarterfinals for tomorrow. Dmitry Kazov, McBannerface, 2 newcomers. Oh no, they face each other. Oh, they had to have known that. But, you know, the upside, one of them is guaranteed in the semifinals. There you go.
Yep. Massive upside. You get to say that you made at least, like, one of them gets to say they made semifinals with aggro druid in Americas, Grandmasters. Flat and killing all day. And No Hands Gamer versus Dreadeye are the final 2 quarterfinals for tomorrow.
It's a pretty good lineup, pretty good setup there.